Hi there, it's Nicole here today with some brand new cards featuring the Valentine's Day release for 2018 from Waffle Flower. Some amazing new stamps and dies, so fresh and fun, and really, I think, a nice break from all of the holiday stuff, kind of. If you're kind of over that, if you're ready for holidays, you're ready for the holidays and have all your paper crafting done, you might be ready for some fresh and fun new product. And this video is going to concentrate mostly, I guess, on creating the backgrounds. I created some alcohol inked backgrounds, which is very new to me. I'm going to share this at the beginning of the video. This is simply just dropping the alcohol ink onto some, I believe it's Yupo paper. Fantastic, beautiful, fun. There's obviously some amazing videos out there. I am really just getting started with the alcohol inks, but I wanted to include this in my video because all of my Waffle Flower projects are going to have some of this paper in the background. I didn't end up getting to use all of my backgrounds. I simply just ran out of time, but I will be using them in future projects, and I will be revisiting the alcohol inks in later videos to really kind of go over them more once I have, I guess, spend a little more time with them. I know a lot of you probably have already played with them. I'm really late getting onto the alcohol ink train. They've been out for years, and when they originally came out, I thought, oh, kind of cool, you know, whatever, but it just didn't click with me, the possibilities. And several times throughout the years, I've thought about picking up a few and trying them out, and I just didn't. I don't even know what reason I might have. Sometimes it's just one of those things. I tend to stick with what is comfortable for me, and it's really a great feeling to step outside your comfort zone just a little bit and maybe try some different things. When I was playing with these alcohol inks, my oldest son had come home from college class, and he was like, "Mom, what are you doing?" And he goes, "That looks fun." And he stood there and made a background with me. And this is a kid, he has not crafted with me in years. It's just kind of not his thing. But he thought these were the coolest thing ever. And he said, "Can we make some more at another time?" And I was like, absolutely. So I think that's kind of cool because obviously there's something about these that's just super, super addictive. Now, this was me trying to dry this so that it didn't spread out more on this first. This is just dropping the inks on the background and layering them over and over. I used a little pearl mixative into that just to see what the background would look like. I thought it would turn out super pretty. Really, really fun. Then I went and added a whole bunch to the background again, kind of like I did to begin with. Same colors that I used for the first card, which I shared the colors while I was working on that. They also are going to be linked below the video here on YouTube. They'll be linked on my blog. So if you're wondering exactly what colors of alcohol ink I used, that is where you can find them. And I put a little colorless blender on this. Truly, I had no idea what I was doing. And you can see this is not what I wanted it to be. You can see the blobs and blotches underneath. Instead of throwing this away, I think one of the great things about alcohol inks is they are super forgiving. So I'm going to take a ink blending tool with a felt pad on here that I've just cut into a circle to fit it because they still come in the rectangles. I put some of the colors that I used back on that, put a little colorless blender, and I'm going to pounce the color on. And I'm going to tell you guys right now, this was my favorite background I created. I did mess up part of the paper. I was so upset. This was going to be used for my fish card that I'll be showing here in a little bit, and we'll definitely delve into the Waffle Flower dies and stamps and all of that. I was super, super bummed. And I simply just kept adding and layering ink until I got this background to look the way I wanted it to. So even though I messed up part of my background, I was able to salvage it and use it for the stitched pears. So I was very happy about that. But I ended up loving this background. And I just kept adding colors. I ended up taking a little of the silver mixative, and it's going to give it a really awesome silvery sheen. Even put a little indigo into this. This is a color that I hadn't been using previously. Here's that silver mixative and the indigo. And this is going to add a whole nother layer to this. Originally, the blue is just way too bright and bold. But I'm going to keep adding ink, keep blending this out, and it's just ends up beautiful. Kind of one of those projects that is just playtime. Playtime is fun in crafting, experimenting, trying new things. This whole project really reminded me to step outside my comfort zone, take a chance, play with some product that isn't something that I am always comfortable with, because you never ever know. You can pick up maybe just a 3-pack of the alcohol inks because they will work together beautifully. Pick up a little bit of the blending solution and some of this paper and play. And if you like it, then you can always go and pick up some more colors. I posted on my Instagram story that I kind of went crazy. I did the go big or go home route. And so I bought a lot. And I'm really glad I did. It gives me a lot of different options. Now, I hated this background. This is another example of the color combination I picked was not good. I absolutely did not like this. So instead of throwing this away, we're going to grab a different color combination, and we're going to make this more bluish purple and deepen and darken it. And again, this is going to be too dark to begin with, but I can always fix that. I'm just going to keep blending and blending, and this is going to be a stripe background. If you go back and forth like this, you're going to get some awesome stripes. And I kept working it just like I did the last background to get something I liked. Out of all the backgrounds I created, I only threw away the first piece of paper that I took out of the pack just to see what the alcohol inks did. The paper that my son and I kind of were experimenting on, seeing what all the inks would do, seeing the colors and things like that. There was no way to really salvage it because it was just a lot of different colors. It was really messy. I think that's amazing. I think it's amazing that you can salvage almost any design. You can see what this started out as and now see what it looks like. And I just kept knocking it out of the way. I don't know what was up with me. I just really love how this turned out. And it was a little bit dry, so I added more blending solution to my felt pad to work those colors together. And you can see I blended out a lot of that indigo, which is really good. I think it was a little too harsh and bright. And I'm just going to add in just a tiny touch of green throughout this. So pretty. I really was happy with this background as well. That's the background that's going to be that ended up being the background for my fish card, which, real quick before we get to the fish, that is my favorite product from this release. The fish is so much fun to build and layer with, you guys. I absolutely love it. I'm going to show just a couple of more backgrounds here quickly. This, and again, I kept this in because I wanted to show you that my original color combination didn't work completely for me. I added a reddish color, so watermelon, raspberry, a yellow, and orange, which I like all of those. But then I put some gold mixative in here, thinking that I would like that with this kind of bright, colorful, this is very much a summery color combination to me, I think. And I did not like the gold at all. So when I went back and added these colors back to my felt pad again without the gold, and I just kind of started pouncing it on again. a lot like the blue background that was the second example that I shared at the beginning of the video. This is very much the same thing, but just fixing something that maybe I didn't love the first time. And I'm just going to keep fixing it. So I went in and added a little pearl mixative, which will give it a nice shimmery sheen in some places. And I'm just going to keep working this, adding color, layering color. I felt like I needed more yellow, so I put some more on there with some blending solution, and that will pull in more yellow. I think it's really cool to note that yellow would be something that would be awfully hard to layer on darker colors. It worked really well here. You can definitely see all of that yellow, and I think that is amazing. This is again that pearl mixative. I'm going to go in and add more of that. It's going to add more shimmery, shiny pieces. A little more colorless, or the blending solution rather, and just kind of keep pouncing, adding until that is the way I want it to look, and that is the finished piece, and you can see the shimmer a little bit to it there. And then let's create another striped background. So this is another mistake. I thought it would be cool to pull in some blue. So my original had blue in it. Where's the blue? You absolutely do not see it. There's hardly any of it. It's really muddied. I was kind of disappointed. So that didn't work. Or at least the color I chose didn't work. And then I tried to add some more and it ends up being purple. And I thought, well, I kind of like the purple. So my background is going to be pinks and purples, which I think is a nice color combination for Valentine's Day. I ended up not being able to use this video for the projects I'm going to share today, but I will use it later on. I really did like how it turned out. So then I went and added some drops of pearl mixative. Yeah, that did not work at all. I absolutely hated it. So I'm going to go blend those out. I don't know what I was trying to achieve there. It's just playtime. So I went ahead, fixed that, and I ended up really liking this stripe even better. So nice. It has some nice shimmer and shine. Imagine that die cut from some hearts. I think that would be really, really fun. Lastly, we're going to take some lighter pinks, a little wild plum, a little purple, and create another background. And this is going to be a background where I add the ink to the piece of paper, and I'm just kind of making a mess of this, applying it all over, getting that color laid down. We'll pull in a little bit of the purple Twilight as well, and just get a nice coverage. That adds even more. Once I have this kind of nice and covered, we're going to start dropping the blending solution onto the background. And it's going to create these little water droplets that move out. Now, to me, this ended up looking like a jellyfish background. So I think this would be great for some sort of a fish type of card. I may work on something for that later or whatever, but it was just another kind of experiment to see what worked. And then I didn't really like how this looked, so I blended it all out. And I'm going to do it again. And I'm going to just be a little bit more careful with my droplets. I just kind of didn't like how that ended up. It's amazing to me how forgiving the paper is, and you can go ahead and go back and fix things. So there's kind of all of my backgrounds. Here's how they all turned out. So pretty, so much fun. Let's get on to the new Waffle Flower product. Make a fish. The die is amazing. Look at that detail. There are lots of dies that come with this, so layering is a breeze. And the full fish image, which makes lining everything up and fitting it together so much easier. Look how great these go together. I'm going to start with the fish base, and then I'm just going to build all the little pieces. I purposely picked colors that match my background, or some of those bluish backgrounds. I actually did the fish first, and so I made the backgrounds with the fish in mind, if that makes sense. And I went with colors that I felt comfortable with, but I love that this could be done in so many colors. Lots of amazing detail, so many ways to dress this up and add detail to this. Just amazing. I'm using a little Ranger multi-matte medium to attach the pieces. And you don't have to do this part, but I did die cut the back end of the fish from another color, and I'm going to use all of those little pieces as a contrast and do an inlay. And I think that adds just a lot of detail. So I'm going to die cut it from yellow cardstock and green cardstock and fill in those little places and do the inlay style. The eye is layered. There's a little layer piece, and then you can die cut another piece, probably from black, because that's going to show up the best as the eye. A jewel picker, a quick stick tool, something like this is really going to be helpful for this kind of a card, simply because their pieces are pretty teeny tiny, and it gets your fingers out of the way. There are little dots that when you die cut the pieces from this, like that back end of the fish, the face of the fish, even the base of the fish, there's like some little dotted detail that I say cuts, but it's more of an impression. Those little areas help serve as a guideline for where your dies go. It kind of helps line everything up, if you will, which is amazing. I went ahead and attached and did die cut all of these little circle pieces that go at the end of some of the greenery, of some of the flowers. If you don't want to do that and you don't want to mess with all of those little pieces, you could also take Nuvo crystal drops, enamel drops, little jewel stickers, and decorate your fish with those instead. I did a combination of both. I did use all the paper pieces. I really wanted to show you how you could just create this with paper. And then I did what I normally do, and I kind of went overboard, and I did take some Nuvo crystal drops in white. You could use a white pen, but I didn't think I would get the level of detail that I wanted for my fish. So I went ahead and used the Simply White Nuvo crystal drops. If you don't get any other color of Nuvo crystal drops, I would highly, highly recommend the Simply White. It is an opaque white that is stunning and amazing. If you want crisp white dotted detail on a project, I really recommend it. I love it more than my white pens and things like that for creating little drops. And you can create some super teeny tiny little droplets just by being really careful with how much of the product you squeeze out when you're applying it to the fish. So I will show that here in just a little bit. There is the fish with just all dies. It is gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Love this die. It's so, so pretty. So let's go ahead and finish the card. I have die cut one of my alcohol ink backgrounds with a stitched layers die. Attached that to my card base. I stamped it with New Greetings from the Make a Fish stamp set. So amazing. This is a great stamp set with lots of different greetings that will work with our fish, which is a lot of fun. I attached the outer, or I die cut the outer frame using that same stitched layers die, and then attached it with some foam adhesive squares around the edge of the card. Put some of those foam adhesive squares on the back of the fish and popped the fish in place. Now I thought a few bubbles coming up from the fish would be a nice touch. These are some clear droplets that I'm attaching with glossy accents. We'll just add a few of those all over the design. And they're a nice dimension. You could use glossy accents. You could use the Nuvo crystal glaze to make droplets as well. So now I have added a lot of white droplets to this, and I'm just going to go in and add a few more. You can see them on the face, the fins, the flowers, the leaves, all of these little pieces, and see how great they show up. The white is just phenomenal. I absolutely love that. So there's the finished card. Next, I love Waffle Flower has come out with another stitched stamp set. This is called Stitched Love. It's got some pears, some strawberries, some adorable greetings. I'm not going to use the greetings today. I'm going to use my favorite greeting from the Little Baker's stamp set with this, but these pears are adorable. I am using a stamp platform to stamp these. It's really so helpful when stamping a stitched layer or any type of layering stamp to have a stamp positioner tool. So the pears were stamped with Chirp Chirp Waffle Flower ink. The stems are going to be stamped with Coffee Loves Milk ink. And I apologize, I have to lean over that and get that lined up. It is so essential that when you are lining these up, you get it perfectly in place. And it's just a little bit tricky for me, unless I am right over top of the project. And there are these great little highlight areas for cheeks. If you're going to add faces to these pears, I think the little cheeks are a must. So Tickled Pink is going to be used for the cheeks. Coffee Loves Milk for the stems. With a stamp positioner, you can stamp them multiple times, one on top of another. I'm going to go ahead and grab little faces. There are faces sized for the strawberries and then faces sized for the pears. You could probably get by using the smaller faces on the pears too if you wanted to. So I'm just going to put both of those in place, get those lined up the way I want them to look, and stamp these with some VersaFine Onyx black ink. This is my favorite black ink if I don't have to do Copic coloring, because it's just nice and bright black. Look how great their faces show up on those pears. Now, the best thing, in my opinion, about this stamp set, coordinating dies, yay! So it makes it really easy to die cut these and use them on a project. Next, we're going to go on to the final card I'm sharing today, and this is the Little Bakers, and I'm revisiting my favorite dies from the last release, which are the arch window and window shutters, to create an interactive card that opens up. So I've just created my card base. I will link to that video at the end of this one if you want step-by-step instructions on how to build the shutters and the interactive element. That video will really help you. And I have trimmed down one of my alcohol ink backgrounds to fit the inside of the card and back behind the arch window die. And I wasn't so sure about this to begin with, but I ended up really loving it. I did stamp and color and die cut the Little Bakers off camera just to save time today. Super simple coloring. These little girls are adorable, so cute. The sentiments are amazing. The thank you sentiment, like I mentioned, I used on the Stitched Love card, the pears from the last project. And I will be using more greetings from this. Good things come to those who bake will go on the front of the card this time. Now, originally I was just using the Little Baker's stamps and dies for this card, but as I looked at one of the other new stamp sets from this release, I really felt like it would work great with this. This is the Morning Love stamp set, And it's a lot of potted flowers and plants and little bottles and vases and all kinds of things. And some of these I think work really well with this design. So I will be stamping some of those and including those kind of up above, almost like there's a little shelf up above in that arch window that all of the pieces are sitting on. I've die cut a label for the front of my shutters from a Lacy Layers 2 die. And this is where I'm going to stamp my greeting from Little Bakers right on this using Versamark ink and heat embossing with white embossing powder. So many great basic die collections from Waffle Flower that make creating layers and labels and all these little things so easy. I like to use a pair of tweezers to hold anything small like this that I am heat embossing. It helps keep your fingers out of the way so that you don't accidentally burn yourself. I'm applying some white embossing powder to this and then heat embossing. This will be the perfect little label for the front of the card. And I like that it's going to be on the front as opposed to inside, which ended up being really full. So there wasn't a really great place for my greeting here. I'm only going to put adhesive on one side so that you're still able to open up the shutters for the card inside in the little scene. So I love how this looks. I love the little girls. I'm going to take a black pen, add detail to their eyes. However, the top of the card is really empty. I'm going to take several of the images from Morning Love and stamp those and add those to that top part of the window. I'm also adding some highlights here with a white pen just to a few areas on the design. This is one of my favorite things to do, especially with an image that has some nice dark colors like these do. But you can see that that top part is just kind of plain, more plain than I personally like. So there are some awesome little vases, bottles, all kinds of things from Morning Love that I think will look really cute. I purposely, however, picked some of them that are more of the outline style as opposed to the solid stamped image because I think they coordinate better with the Little Bakers because they are outlines that are colored, if that makes sense. So instead of the solid images that would be stamped with a solid color of ink, I did stamp the flower with inks, but the vase is an outline that I'll add a little Copic coloring. Super fast Copic coloring too. There's another little jar that I'm going to stamp the, what are they, gumballs or something? They can be gumballs inside of. That I'm not going to add anything to. And then another little covered dish is kind of what I called it for my card here today, whatever it might be. I'm going to add a little bit of Copic coloring to that as well. Simple, 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 but I think it ties back into the Little Bakers better than the other images would. I did stamp the large floral because I wanted to use it so bad, but I didn't like it for that very reason. So maybe try, if you want to combine stamp sets like this, try to find stamps that have some element that coordinates with the main stamp set you might be using. Now the hearts from Little Bakers were stamped with the Waffle Flower My Pleasure ink, die cut with the coordinating dies. I've added some of them inside, some of them on the front cover, and I'm going to finish them with a layer of the Nuvo crystal glaze. You could also use glossy accents if you wanted to. I use the crystal glaze here. My glossy accents is running out. To me, they are basically, you could use them the same way. I like to use the crystal glaze for adding the glassy finish, kind of quote unquote, or the glossy dimensional finish to stamped elements. And my glossy accents, while I do use it for that a lot, is more of an adhesive type of thing. So here is my card. Is that so cute? I can't get over these dies. I know that they're not brand new now. They are still fairly new, but I love them. I think they're amazing. The crystal glaze on the little gumballs, I guess I want to say, sorry. And the hearts and things just add a fantastic glossy finish to the finished design of this card. Thanks for joining me today as I show some examples of the new Waffle Flower Valentine's Day 2018 release, as well as some alcohol inked backgrounds. The supplies I used to create these cards are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Here are a couple more videos featuring Waffle Flower that you might be interested in. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.